The Siege of Naxos was the start of a series of conflicts between the Persian Empire and the Greek city-states that would last for 50 years, known as the Greco-Persian Wars. Let's begin with a bit of background that we must know. Naxos is an island in the Aegean Sea that had been ruled by the tyrant Legitimus until around 524 B.C., when he was overthrown by the Spartans. After this, a native aristocracy seemed to have flourished, and Naxos became one of the most prosperous and powerful of the Aegean islands. Despite its success, Naxos was not immune to class tensions and internal strife, and shortly before 500 BC, the population seized power, expelling the aristocrats and establishing a democracy. Let's travel over to the Persian Empire, where the stand-in Milesian tyrant Aristagoras found himself in this familiar predicament. His uncle Histiaeus had accompanied King Darius on campaign in 513 BC. When Darius asked if he would like a reward, he had asked for part of the conquered Thracian territory. Although this was granted, Histiaeus' ambition alarmed Darius' advisors, and Histiaeus was thus further rewarded by being compelled to remain as Darius' royal table companion. Aristagoras took over this territory instead, and the Milesians were not happy. In 500 BC, Aristagoras was approached by some of the exiled aristocrats from Naxos, who asked him to help restore them to the control of the island. Aristagoras saw this as an opportunity to strengthen his position with the discontented Milesians by conquering Naxos. Aristagoras approached the leader of Lydia, Artaphernes, with a proposal. If Artaphernes provided an army, Aristagoras would conquer the island in King Darius' name, and would then give Artaphernes a share of the spoils to cover the cost of raising the army. Furthermore, Aristagoras suggested that once Naxos fell, the islands around would quickly follow, and he even suggested that multiple islands could be attacked in the same expedition. Artaphernes agreed to his terms, and then asked King Darius for permission to launch the expedition, which he gave. They assembled a force of 200 triremes to attack Naxos the following year. The Persian fleet was assembled in the spring of 499 BC. Artaphernes put Megabates in charge of the expedition, and dispatched him to Miletus with the Persian army. They were joined there by Aristagoras and the Milesian forces, and then embarked and set sail. In order to avoid warning the Naxians, the fleet initially sailed north towards the Hellespont until they arrived at Chios. Then they doubled back and headed south for Naxos. While at Chios, Megabates made inspections of their ships and came across one ship which had not posted any sentries. Megabates ordered his guard to find the captain of the ship, and had the captain thrust into one of the ship's oar holes, with his head outside and body inside the ship. News reached Aristagoras of the treatment of his friend, and he went to Megabates and asked him to free the captain, which Megabates denied. Aristagoras cut the captain loose himself, which enraged Megabates, and he responded, "Why have you to do with these matters? Did not Artaphernes send you to obey me and to sail wherever I bid you? Why are you so meddlesome?" Megabates was so enraged by all this that he sent messengers to the Naxians to warn them of the approach of the Persian force. Many historians today doubt that Megabates, a Persian commander, would have sabotaged his own invasion out of spite, but it makes for great storytelling, so I believe it. The Naxians were at first unaware of the Persian invasion until the news arrived, but they quickly began preparation by gathering everything in from the fields and reinforcing their walls. Let's compare the two forces together. The Naxian forces consisted of about 8,000 capable men equipped as hoplites. Hoplites were armed with long spears called a dory, which were significantly longer than Persian spears, and usually accompanied by a sword called a xiphos. This made Greeks superior in hand-to-hand combat, and gave them significant protection against ranged attacks. The Persian force was based around 200 triremes, each trireme supporting about 40 soldiers, usually armed with a bow, a short spear, a sword or axe, and carried a wicker shield. When the Persians arrived at Naxos, they were faced by a well-fortified and supplied city. The Persian forces initially assaulted the city, which failed. The Persians then settled down to besiege the city. They built a stronghold for the exiled Naxian aristocrats on the island, giving them a base to return to as events permitted. 4 months have passed, and the Persians had ran out of money and supplies, and the Naxians still had amazing walls and food for days. Thoroughly demoralized, the Persians returned to Persia, empty-handed. We will learn what happens next in the next episode. Thank you all for watching.